There's this little joke about the Dutch. And the question is, why do you think that Dutch people are so tall? And the answer is that we want to keep breathing when the sea level is rising. Because about 1/3 of the Netherlands lies below sea level. And the lowest point, and we actually still call that land, other people would call it a swamp, but the lowest point of the Netherlands lies 7 meters below sea level. And the highest point of the Netherlands, you can see that in the south, we call it a mountain, but actually it is a hill. It's 300 meters above sea level. Also our capital, the city of Amsterdam, where I live myself, lies 2 meters below sea level. And some of you may know that our country has become famous because of our fight against the water. And our knowledge of water management also helped Dubai to create this incredible city, and thank you for the invitation. But I prefer to call it a balancing act between man and nature. Because if we fail to do so, we might lose 1/3 of our country. And we did before. Only in 1953, a major flood disaster struck the Netherlands. 72,000 people needed to be evacuated. 2,000 people were drowned. 4,500 buildings were destroyed. And my father was born in 1953, in January, in the city of Dordrecht. You can see it on the slide, it's in the south. And the house where he was born was flooded as well. And although at that moment he was only a baby of 3 weeks old, he can still tell about the flood as if he remembers every second of it. Today I am a father myself. And in the 65 years difference between my father and his grandson, the threatening of flooding in the Netherlands has increased dramatically. And if we don't act today, the threat of flooding in the Netherlands and all over the world will be even increased more dramatically at the moment when I am a grandfather myself. A balancing act between man and nature, fighting climate change, and a rising sea level is just one example of the incredible consequences of global climate change. Just as global e-commerce sustainability is just one example of the job we need to do to get a more sustainable future. And today I will share you some insights from the Netherlands, from our e-commerce logistics company, PostNL, what we do, how do we reinvent delivery. That's the reason why I am here. And there's a second reason as well, because today we also speak about global e-commerce and global logistics. And this is the hardest part of the logistic value chain to be more sustainable in the future. So please take my call to action to cooperate at the global level to make e-commerce logistics on a global level the most sustainable logistics we can make. For those of you who don't know PostNL, we are the leading e-commerce logistics service provider within the Netherlands. And Holland always is a very interesting example of e-commerce because we were very early adapters. We have been front runner in e-commerce since e-commerce exists. And it has two reasons. The first reason is a great internet penetration since the moment where internet reached out to consumers mid-90s. And the second reason why e-commerce grows so well in the Netherlands is that we like high services and low prices, and that is what e-commerce can offer. Our company has been founded by Napoleon himself in 1799. And we have a history of 220 years of corporate citizenship. We are part of Dutch society, not only as service provider, but also as one of the largest employers in the country. And that makes corporate citizenship for us very natural, but we are very proud about the external recognition we get for our sustainability performance. And today I want to dive in with you into the value chain of e-commerce. You see it right here, and we will pick four elements of it. I want to talk with you about reinventing e-commerce logistics, because sustainability is not about replacing what we have today with more sustainable solutions. No, sustainability is about reinventing the way we work. And we start with the parcel itself. And then we go upstream through the value chain. So then we go to the last mile delivery, we go to the middle mile, the regional shipment, and we end this presentation with international, with global shipment. But first the parcel itself. And there's a problem with parcels globally. All parcels are obese. They are way too large and they contain too much of air. The only problem is that it is air with value. So if we, as a local carrier, get out the air ourselves, then I'm sure that we get complaints. So that is why e-commerce players should make smaller parcels. And we did two things to get that. In the first place, we introduced pricing, a pricing mechanism. The larger the parcel is, the more you need to pay. In the second place, our mail company ran a great project with the name Platify. And Platify was a project for all stuff that wanted to go through the letterbox but didn't fit in it yet. So we help companies to reduce the size of their parcels so that they can fit inside the letterbox, so that our mailman, and they go by bicycle, so that our mailman can deliver them. For parcels which are slightly bigger, we recently opened our small parcel sorting center. This sorting center is specially for shoebox-sized parcels, and as you may know, most of the global e-commerce parcels are a kind of shoeboxes. This factory prepares products, puts those smaller parcels into a bag, and we place this bag next to the driver's seat. And this increases the capacity of our delivery vans and decreases the CO2 per parcel. So if you want to have global parcels sustainable delivered, go to the small parcel sorting center of PostNL, because then you have a very low CO2 per parcel. That was the first step, reinventing the parcel itself. The second step then is about the last mile. And you already heard this is the touch point with the consumer. So most of the focus of e-commerce and sustainability is on this touch point. And you can see it over here. You have all kinds of vans, delivery vans, small trucks, large electric freight vehicles, all very sustainable, all electric. And of course, we as PostNL are front runner at that point as well. But I am especially proud on the project with the light electric freight vehicles. And I am proud for three reasons. In the first place, we did this project with a conceptual mindset. What you see in e-commerce, especially in the cities, is that we overemphasize the productivity of cargo bikes. And we know from the Dutch market that consumers who are delivered using a cargo bike have a very net promoter score. But if you really look into city livability, into congestion, the cargo bike isn't a universal solution. So the concept we made was that we look at what are the characteristics of a neighborhood and what kind of delivery mode fits best. The second reason why I'm very proud on this project is that we use the quadruple helix method. Well, that's a bit of a consulting term. It means that you have the government, local knowledge institutions, citizens and companies at one table co-developing. And I thought as a Polder model guy that it is very normal, but I know from an international perspective that it is extraordinary to have governments, knowledge institutions, companies and citizens working together on one project. And that is what we did with this project. And the final reason why I'm very proud in this project is because we reinvented every step of the delivery, from sorting to transportation to delivery, and that made a very good tailor-made product for the local city centers. We use this in, for example, the historic center of Amsterdam and in the historic center of Dordrecht, the city where my father is born. We go upstream in the value chain again to the regional shipment, the sorting centers. All our sorting centers have BREEAM Outstanding certification. We have large solar panels and we are currently installing the charging infrastructure for our electric delivery vans. And I think this is quite comparable with what other companies are doing. What is not comparable is that we also look at the large trucks. As you of course all know, large trucks aren't available yet in a zero emission form. That's why we are investing in plant-based fuels, saving 92% CO2 compared to fossil fuels. For example, HVO 100 is one of the fuels we use right now, and that's plant-based. In order to get this, we needed to build a nationwide infrastructure of gas fuel stations where we could send our trucks to. And that was really complicated. But by having it now, we have been paving the way also for our competitors to use this HVO 100 and saving 92% CO2 compared to fossil fuels. And dear people, remember that approximately 50% of the CO2 of every parcel is in large trucks. We only don't see it because they drive at night. But also CO2 you emit at night contributes to global warming. So this is a very good project where we used our purchasing power to get an infrastructure to get a more sustainable future. Then we come to the international shipment. Where are we today for? And let's be honest, guys, this is the most difficult part of e-commerce to get sustainable. And as PostNL, we are looking, well, what can we do? And what we can do is contribute and collaborate together with the Technical University of Delft, a very outstanding technical university. And we made measurement models where CO2 is involved in the decision-making process, how we send parcels. And the funny thing is, today I saw in the exhibition room, I saw price everywhere on all the brokers and all the international shipment. Price was everywhere, CO2 was nowhere. And CO2 is part of our decision-making models already. We are also switching from aircrafts to trucks for European destinations, so that we use less aircrafts, more trucks, because that saves us CO2. And of course, in collaboration with several parties, we also reinvented the train again. And here you see one of the first shipments we had to the Nordic countries, where we are using the traditional railways to have sustainable delivery in the Nordic countries. So perhaps the steps are small, but we are taking the steps because we believe that e-commerce logistics can be the most sustainable logistics worldwide. So looking back at the lessons I've learned in the last 5-6 years wherein I'm working on sustainability, I want to share 3 observations with you. The first one is that sustainability only gets wings when you have top management involvement. I see that within our own company. We have a CEO, Herna Verhagen, who is really committed to make PostNL the most sustainable e-commerce provider in the Netherlands. I see that also with our customers. So as soon as the CEO of a customer asks for sustainability, then his or her whole company starts running. And that's why I want to offer today to the global e-commerce market, let's together wake up our CEOs. And somewhere in the next year, PostNL will hosting a global CEO meeting in order to discuss opportunities together to use biokerosene more and how can we make the global e-commerce more sustainable. My second lesson is start. Start in cooperation. I already told you about the triple helix or quadruple helix method. Get at the table together with local governments, with national governments, with knowledge institutions, with public interest groups, and co-develop together the road to your sustainable path, to your sustainable company. When you cooperate together in an open innovation model, you will be faster and more successful. My third and final lesson contains also a warning. You should start with real sustainability. There's a lot of marketing involved within sustainability. You have all kinds of terms as fossil-free, CO2 neutral, climate-friendly, net zero CO2. Look for external validation of what you are doing and don't put your sustainability people in the communications department, but put them in the heart of your business because sustainability is core business. PostNL stopped the delivery of mail and parcels by boat in the Biesbos. The Biesbos is a very big natural reserve close to Dordrecht, the city where my father lived. And we stopped delivering parcels and mail with this boat because we believe that in the future we don't need boats. If we do together what we need to do to transform our economy and our businesses towards this sustainable future, then we are convinced that the water will never come so high again, and perhaps in 100 years from now, Dutch people will be less taller than they are now. Thank you very much.